Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 305 for January 30th, 2019. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host for this journey into the exciting adventure of advanced technology vehicles and sustainable energy. I got that all out in one breath.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Exciting.
It's amazing what happens when we quit smoking, huh?
Yeah, I must be feeling better. We have an amazing show for you tonight. Look at this. What's going on down here? Yeah, exactly. It's cold as insert your favorite metaphor. And we are nonetheless here to represent.
As a witch's broom, right?
It's a witch's. You know what? I got nothing against witches, so I'm just not going to talk trash about them. And they cast spells.
Yeah, don't insult anyone who casts spells.
Yeah, you just don't really want to go there. You end up like Trump. You're all orangey and shit. Let's introduce everybody and get this show on the road. My co-host on this show, he is sitting on a block of ice. There's a small space heater near him that is helping him cling to life. Mm-hmm. Mr. Tony Schaefer.
That is literally not a joke. If I could move the camera, I would show you the space heater that's literally on the floor under my desk right now.
Tony, we appreciate your bravery.
Yeah, it's crazy. Shout out to Brenda and Phil, first in the chat rooms, and to David Watts,
nice.
Who just admitted first time seeing the show. He's off work tonight due to the weather. So
first time seeing the show live.
First time seeing the show live. And he was on Tesla Live too. So that's really cool.
Wow.
It's great.
I like how you said just admitted.
right. I couldn't think of the right verb.
It's like shameful.
Just closed.
So what drives this confessional right here?
Yeah.
So before I get into the rest of the Rogues Gallery, some of you may have already noticed, the sharp-eyed viewers and listeners that you are. Well, if you're listeners, you haven't noticed a damn thing. But if you're viewers, you've noticed there's a new face down there. That is Mr. Kacey Green. Kacey Green has been in the alt car community since 2002. He started as a hypermiler, kind of a light eco modder. He's had a couple of Priuses, a Volt. He drives a 16 Model S and a Model X.
That's the one.
Ay. Oh, you got rid of the Model S?
Yeah, I couldn't afford 2 Teslas.
I'm looking at the guy with more drones than I have cameras, and I'm like, okay. Anyway, please give a wonderful What Drives Us welcome to Mr. Kacey Green.
Woo! Yay! Woo!
Thanks, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, come on, you guys.
That's it?
Something witty. We need something witty here.
Witty on demand.
In the office for y'all.
Yeah.
So our paths, I know that with Kacey's path has crossed with many of ours in the past. Like Russell said, he's been involved in the community for years and years.
Yeah.
So like hybrid fests and Green Drive Expos and things.
Absolutely. Many a long drive up there.
Yes.
It was a blast.
Where do you live, Kacey?
Right now I'm in South Carolina. I first started with you guys in Florida, Gainesville, Florida.
Okay.
And then moved to Columbia, and now here I am in Charleston, South Carolina.
Cool.
All right.
We're not going to come over and drink your beer or anything. We promise.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not until we're sure where the location is.
And how good the beer is. Speaking of beer, our friend in Boulder, Colorado, the founder of Boulder Hybrids at boulderhc.com, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be back. Welcome, Kacey. And I'm drinking again. This was all that was left in the fridge, Guns N' Rosé.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Good name. Not the greatest beer, but any port in a storm.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, I have a high wire gauche from Three Ring Brewing in Asheville, North Carolina. I found it in my fridge yesterday, and I'm not sure how it got there. And it's not that good.
Drink up,
Nashville's
brave
a good
man.
beer town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of cold, our northernmost panelist, the host of the Tesla Life, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello and welcome from a sunny but frigid, cold southern Ontario. We're sitting at minus 20 degrees Celsius, or for my
What's that,
American
American?
friends, minus 15 Fahrenheit.
Minus.
Yeah, minus. Yeah, it's going to be a fun night. Looking for pipes to freeze and all sorts of fun. So
Are you
just got my
dripping
fingers
water?
crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So-
awful.
But welcome to the show.
Well, last and certainly not least, he took second place in the What Drives Us drone collection contest. He is our medieval weapons expert and an owner of, more Teslas than most people should have. Dr. Evan Fusco.
Hey guys, glad to be here. It's an honor to be on the panel with Kacey again. We do have a long history stretching back to some of the very earliest days of hybrids and EVs, and he's a great guy, very knowledgeable. I think we'll get a lot from him. I just put his Twitter handle in the chat room. If anybody wants to grab that and follow him down there, it's at GC Custom or
G Custom.
G Custom, just one C, right?
1C.
There you go.
All right.
Well, do stalk all of us privately and publicly. Just don't send the dick pics, okay?
Yeah, I'll see if it-
Yeah, especially not when it's minus 17.
Yeah. Unless you've got a really good macro lens.
Right. Yeah.
Just saying. So we actually have a lot of news. I should get going. First up this week, and I like to pick random things, but Bridgestone, a company that is well known for making tires, actually acquired TomTom Telematics this last week, which I thought was interesting because tires, navigation.
Yeah, don't see it.
They both go in
maybe-
cars.
Maybe they can make you get lost, and then you burn more miles. You burn more tires.
Oh, perfect use case right there.
Or even if it was like more subtle, they just add 10% to every trip
Oh,
to wear out the tires faster.
Oh,
There's got to be an ROI.
Oh. And then it's
Yeah.
keeping track of the mileage. So it's like, don't you need a new set of Bridgestones now?
mhm.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, is this just? I mean, Bridgestone just venturing out? I mean, are they looking to? Is there any indication they're looking to get into a whole nother business? Because telematics is not something you go into lightly.
Well, right from making tires. It's not like
Exactly. Yeah.
they already made car infotainment systems and they went, oh, okay, this is a natural,
hmm
this is like tires, telematics.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and again, not downplaying tires because there's a lot of math and physics and shit
Absolutely.
that goes into tires, but this is just too
Maybe
totally.
they're just trying to diversify with the 11 million Chinese companies making tires now.
Ooh, hit them at their own home ground.
Maybe.
Very thoughtful.
Yeah.
Paul. I like that.
Yeah, when I was at SEMA a couple months ago. There was dozens and dozens and dozens of Chinese tire companies you've never heard of. all
Really?
trying to sell their tires. So
I don't.
Even if I'd heard of them, I probably wouldn't remember a single one of the names.
no, you can't.
How much melamine can you put in the average car tire? Was
How
that?
much lead paint can you put in them?
Yeah. How much lead paint? That was about as far as I could go, deep as I could go into the Chinese manufacturing process.
And with this merger, maybe Bridgestone can finally answer the question: how many roads must a man wander down?
You really had to stretch that one.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony. I gotta turn his mic off. Give me a minute. Distract him. Our next story is coming from our newest panelist, Mr. Kacey Green. Has something about Scandinavia.
yes. So there was a sorry, I was on the spot. the Swedish Transport Authority was trying to block the Tesla update functionality because they were afraid that Tesla was kind of doing an end around them and update the cars without them having a chance to check and make sure that everything was safe first.
So they would
Well-
have clean emissions? Is that why they were going to?
Something. But mostly it was they were fearful that the autopilot might advance faster than they were ready for, and they were convinced, or they just realized it was a bad fight, so they pulled it back.
That is really interesting because, I mean, to me, the interesting aspect on this is, like you had said, an in around, but the thought of a government agency saying, we need to verify that what you are going to put in the vehicle is actually safe and not going to hurt or kill anyone. I don't know that that's ever come up before.
That's weird. Yeah.
But a car hasn't had the ability typically in the past to be able to be updated in such a fashion that it would change that many features that would cause an alarm bell to go off. So this is it's new territory.
Yeah, at least not without visiting a hub first. Like go see the dealership.
Right. Yeah, but for as long as Tesla's been doing this, I mean, you know, here in the United States,
Yes.
Maybe it's true. I mean, we just don't care. And if you know, if all the Teslas suddenly drive off the road and kill their drivers, then okay,
you'll know there's a problem.
Right. And I don't know. This really wasn't about self-driving. It was about the over-the-air updates.
Mm-hmm.
Just having, not having too much control over the vehicle without going through an approval process. If I understand
that. In Canada, they disabled the ability for the Model 3 to have summon, for instance. So you can't pull the car in and out of a space.
Until recently.
And then I think it was Singapore. They had to go back in a flash update and delete the autopilot functionality until they could get their approval.
So the strength, that over the OTA is actually a weakness and a strength.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that they could go back and fix this to get in line with government authority, but it was actually the OTA process itself that got them in trouble.
Well, they gave us a little bit of insight into it this week or last week when Elon was saying that the approval for Smart Summon is almost complete, or actually now today he said it is complete, where the car will follow your phone around like a puppy.
Right. Was it pet puppy mode or something? Somebody was calling it, I think.
Yeah.
What can anyone name the regulatory authority that has that control that they are quote unquote
he
waiting
never
for?
answers the question.
Yeah, exactly. Smells like bullshit to me. Sorry.
Well, it could be that same Canadian agency that stopped them from doing summon.
Right. Now I get that. I get that in Canada, but I dug into this question last week and nobody could cite the authority that would actually shut him down in the United States.
Were they even open last week?
True.
Yeah, we gave you the approval, but we're not open to actually do it.
Yeah.
And that's when Tesla slipped in all the new updates.
Right.
The intern said, "Okay."
It does that little dancing thing with the Christmas lights that the Model X does.
I did that when I won the money from the drag race.
See?
I was just dancing up.
Speaking of which, do look for Kacey on YouTube. He does some wonderful videos.
Thank you.
We'll I'm sure he'll plug that during the thing. Next up, Tony has some job opportunities for everyone out there.
Yes. So a company that is exclusively on a first name basis. So it's a shame that Nikola Tesla only had the two names. Does anyone know his middle name? Because there might be a third electric vehicle company out there.
Faraday.
Was that a Nikola Faraday Tesla? So Nikola Motors, who a lot of people know from their large electric trucks, recently went out and said, hey, we understand that Tesla's letting go a lot of people and we're looking for people to help us with our product. So if you were let go from Tesla, why don't you come and work at Nikola? Which You know, they actually did it, in my opinion, they did it right. They didn't target Tesla. They didn't try to do, where they cold call people and they try to steal them and raid the company. This happened after Tesla announced the cuts, and they saw an opportunity for people who already had experience working in this field to help fill some spots they were looking to fill. And it's not the first time they've done this, because mentioned in an article in The Drive, it had mentioned that when other companies have done large layoffs, Nikola has put out notice to them and saying, we're looking for highly skilled people. And if you were recently let go from these companies, why don't you come work for us? There is one catch, of course. If you were working for Tesla in California or Nevada, Nikola is based in Phoenix. And I went to their job site, and every job they were hiring for was in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you're in Phoenix or you don't mind moving to Phoenix, which right now Phoenix sounds like a really good option for me, they are looking to hire what it says hundreds of openings. And they have, quote, large cash reserves.
Wow.
Wow.
Who's funding them?
Well, if you somewhere there's a joke about like Tesla's bottom 7% becoming their like new hires, but I don't really want to make it because
that's that joke last year. He's like, yeah, they just hire our rejects.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
talking about the Apple Project Titan.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
But no, I mean, Paul had a good point. And I hadn't dug into this. Where is Nikola getting their large cash?
500 skilled EV engineers is not cheap.
No.
And
that's a good question, though. I mean, they returned all of their deposits, so they're not using that for operating income.
They are well funded.
Yeah. I will try to look that up during our next story.
There we go. Well, I'll go to the next story. I like the bigger
Saudis
issues.
are funding them.
Is what?
The Saudis. It's a done deal. Didn't you read?
That's right.
Oh, I didn't.
Right.
No,
I remember that. Yeah.
Is it PIF that's paying for them? I had no idea. Oh, you're making a joke.
Yes.
Oh,
They had spoken publicly about making an offer at some point.
Right.
At the same time that funding secured had happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of those sovereign funds that oh yeah, we got a few billion here.
Okay. I have this real quick. Nikola in trucks.com. Nikola raises $100 million in week 1 of $200 million funding round. And
private.
Yeah. And they want to use cookies and track where I live.
Right.
Yes.
I approve of cookies, not the tracking part. So one of the things that I'm always interested in, besides the machines themselves, is how we interact with these machines on streets. What different, how our cars, how our vehicles, our motor vehicles interact with other things like bicycles and scooters. And of course, ultimately, humans, pedestrians. Oddly enough, our streets are clogged with humans just walking inexplicably on the streets that are meant for motor vehicles. And I'm making a joke now, but it's not all that funny. Last year, about 6,000 people died. Pedestrians were run over by cars.
Mm-hmm.
Accidents. Almost all of them are accidents. And we have an interesting way we look at motor vehicle accidents, that they are that very seldom is someone actually responsible. One thing that the Congress for New Urbanism has determined is that it's a lot of it is our street design is just in some places crazy, and it's very geographically specific. For instance, if you're a pedestrian in Florida,
you're going to die.
Get in the car. Get in the car. There are more pedestrian deaths there than any other state.
But they don't have sidewalks in half the state.
And the streets are very, very wide. and the intersections.
Older.
I'm sorry.
The demographic is older.
Well, a lot of it, yes, that is certainly true in Florida, but a lot of it in Florida has to do with intersection design. That's one of the things that this report talks about. It also talks about how these pedestrian deaths impact different demographic groups differently. For instance, if you're a person of color, you're much more likely to die as a pedestrian than you are if you are Asian or Pacific Islander or white. Hispanic or Latinos, Black African Americans, especially American natives or Alaskan natives, are like triple the rate.
How is that?
What does race have to do with it?
Well, again, it's not the cause of it, but what they're looking at is how these different groups, where they live, what the streets are like where they are.
They might also be more likely to walk instead of have a car or bus.
Oh, true.
Exactly. So there's a number of factors that play into it, but the numbers are clear in who's being killed. The numbers are pretty clear. So it's not the question goes to us as how can we minimize this? We have exclusively for, I don't know, 100 years designed streets for cars.
Right.
Just now with micromobility, with the potential of autonomous vehicles, we're talking about changing some of this stuff to accommodate things, but very seldom. I mean, how many times have you ever heard the civic discussion of, well, what about the pedestrians? Maybe we should cut a lane of traffic off so there's more room for people to walk.
I have, from the article you're referencing, here is a picture.
That's Florida, baby.
Yeah. And, and to Kacey's point, who's more likely to be walking on this dirt path next to this multi-lane road? It's not going to be affluent white folks. I mean, let's just be honest here.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I totally cut you off, but yeah, it's completely accurate to everything that you're saying right here.
Well, not a few weeks ago, probably a couple of months ago, we talked about the most dangerous intersection in America. And it was this mega intersection in Florida that was like 12 lanes in each direction. It was like a half mile to get across the damn thing. It was crazy. Oh my gosh. But of course, it's full of cars because there's a lot of people that drive there. Again, I don't know that I need to beat this. It's a fascinating article at cnu.org. We'll publish the link to it. Go check it out. And it is, as automobile owners, it's something for us to think about.
Yeah. From when I was in Florida, my junior year to my senior year, there were 4 or 6 collisions in the intersection outside of my apartment. One was a dump truck hit a bicycle. The others were pedestrians. Yeah, it was terrible. And it was a larger intersection. It wasn't a mega 12. It was just 4 in each direction, but that's huge.
Right.
And then the Nissan autonomous cars, they actually have, they're working on a way to make it so that you can know if the car has seen you, like it makes a happy face, and then like the kanji characters. Like, go ahead. And if you see that, then you know that the car has acknowledged your presence. If you don't see it, it might run you over.
It's got the dog crossbones.
I love that idea.
It might run you over, or it may be just playing with you.
Right. How many owners are going to subvert that right away? Happy face, and I run you down.
Yeah.
The same people blocking Tesla superchargers are going to do that.
That's true. But if it is showing the happy face, then at that point, the dashboard actually rotates out in a way so that actually is coming from your speedometer cluster and all the screens up there. So if there's actually no place for the happy face to be, then the steering wheel's out, and that's a speedometer and a backup camera or whatever for the driver to see. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, enough of that. Speaking of pedestrians, or things about the road, Tony has the next story. And going back to Sweden, what's up with Scandinavia tonight?
I don't know. They had nothing better to do with winter. But yeah, David Watts show title, It Might Run You Over.
I'm writing that one down. Thank you, David.
Yes. So Anders, frequent listener and fan of the show, is in Stockholm And so I thought of him as soon as I saw this and I have got to put this picture up here.
No, you don't.
Yes,
I mean,
do.
you think you do, but you don't.
Well, I am because no one else is. But here is a picture of the self-driving Volvo electric. It says truck. I'm not buying.
Oh, it's a truck.
I mean,
Yep.
I
You can
guess.
see the fifth wheel on it.
Yeah.
Isn't
I
it?
know, but it's,
Not the truck we're thinking of. It's a semi truck.
it's yeah.
Why is it so-
Semi-tractor.
It's a
Yes, tractor.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get it.
yeah. So it goes in, in here, it drops in with this. And here's where it latches, of course. But okay, so stop presenting. So the article here about damn it, I
Honey,
closed
are
it.
you having a meltdown? You okay?
I am, because I meant to close the picture. I ended up closing the
window.
actual article. Okay, so
Key.
so basically what it is, okay, I got to back up. So Stockholm recently approved up to level 4 autonomous driving for speeds up to 80 kilometers per hour, which is approximately 50 miles per hour. They have approved this on their roads. So that includes Google's Waymo. General Motors Cruise is looking to deploy these cars. BMW and Audi are looking to get in on this. And basically, the Swedish authorities have said, we know it's coming, so we might as well let the testing begin, and we might as well do it in a way that we can control. And so if you want to see up to level 4 cars on the streets, go to Sweden, because it sounds like that's where they're going to be first.
So cautious about allowing a fart Easter egg on a Tesla, but let an autonomous vehicle run wild on the street.
I think I need to stick to the crosswalks when I go to visit.
Yeah.
So you're saying open season on pedestrians has begun in Sweden?
Always look for the smiley face is what it is. Yeah.
Going after the record that Florida currently holds.
Yeah, exactly. Florida's bullshit.
Yeah. But I found this so interesting because whereas a lot of localities are being very cautious and trying to keep things under control, and especially we know we've seen accidents with cars. The woman with the bike was killed last year. That was her, right? So there's a lot of hesitation. Sweden has completely turned it around and said, okay, bring it. Now, another benefit to this is, of course, unlike testing in California and I was going to say Las Vegas, but in Nevada, and there's a lot of weather in Sweden. So if they can do well in Sweden, they can do well pretty much anywhere as far as weather is concerned. When it snows
Right.
and you can't see the stripes, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good place to start testing it because it's far away from me.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As long as they don't test while unplugging sensors like Uber did last year, that was.
Yeah, Russell, you're
that should
much
never
safer around California drivers.
Yeah, well, you're not going to hear me defending California drivers, believe me.
But we do have, super accurate GPS coming out very soon, and 5G data networks. So in not too long in the future, the cars won't need the lines on the roads. They'll know within centimeters of where they are.
And this is one thing that I've said, Paul, and I'm glad you mentioned this, and you're exactly right. I mean, pinpoint accurate GPS, but I've said, how great would it be for, for autonomous driving if, and I realize the investment, but to lay wire down the middle of lanes.
Ugh, right.
I mean, I realize the investment, but that's just dead simple.
Well, and then you start talking about inductive charging while you're driving and all of that other stuff. But
I'm just even talking about, I know warehouses have wires to guide things, as they go.
Yeah,
But
the
it's
magnetic
still
tape.
tens of thousands of dollars a mile to lay it into the ground.
Oh yeah, I
when
totally get that.
GM was trying back in the 90s, they actually every so many yards they would actually bore a hole and stick a magnet in it, and then their cars could follow the magnetic trail.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the vague infrastructure improvements that AV companies talk about requiring to get to that level 5 thing.
I
Right?
like Elon's method. If you can do it with 2 eyes and 2 ears, then the car should be able to do it as well.
It's not the eyes and
Yeah,
ears.
a lot of people with 2
It's-
eyes and 2 ears can't drive. So
Right.
They get distracted, they get bored. Hopefully the computer doesn't do that.
To me it's also I mean I get it, but it's a lot of the rationale, and the realization that experience has shown me that in this situation with an inch of snow, the edge of the road is probably right there.
There was an incident. I was driving last week, and I was driving along. I came onto a road where sometimes you stay in what was the on ramp is also the exit lane, and you don't need to get off. So I was there, and I saw a Jeep, and something about me said it's gonna do something stupid. And so I said to my my coworkers that were in the car with me, I was like, that dude's gonna jump out in front of us. And sure enough, he moves over, then turns the blinker on, and then my car slams on the brakes on its own because I was autopiloting. And they're like, "How did you know?" I'm like, millions of miles of experience.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an intuition, which you're going to teach the systems how to intuit, if you can even do that.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's a level of AI we have not figured out how to program.
I think that's level 6.
Yeah.
Also, I think we've all started laughing about this. This is part of there were a couple of outbreaks you might have heard, but Lee Moon in the chat room. Sweden adopts population control.
Show title.
Definitely up there. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Definitely. Next up, just a little sort of I don't want to say housekeeping thing, but we've talked about this several times. I think Paul was the first one to report on it. There was a joint venture between Bosch and Daimler. Bosch, if you're not familiar with them, well, I can't help you. They're an enormous manufacturing company in Germany. And Daimler, of course, if you don't know who they are, just watch the show more. They were making all kinds of electric motors for electric and hybrid cars. Specifically, they had done a really cool kind of pre-pack thing where other companies could buy this electric drivetrain and put it on bicycles or scooters or larger ones for motor vehicles, for cars, which is great because not every company necessarily has to or needs to go into that drivetrain development if there's something off the shelf that they can buy and put in to a frame that they have already engineered. Bosch has bought Daimler out of that. Daimler sort of bowed out. Bosch will take over that business. And interestingly enough, part of the motivation for this seems to be that Daimler is working on in-house production of these or similar electric motors for their own vehicles. So
interesting.
Daimler's taken that in-house. Bosch is going to hopefully sell more of these things so we can electrify more vehicles and go forward from there.
And Bosch will sell to any auto company. They don't have any non-compete type agreements.
Yeah, there's no conflict there. Bosch sells to
everybody.
Yeah. I kind of want to, I wonder if I could just buy one, No, probably not.
They probably have a minimum order, I would think. Yeah.
20,000.
Yeah, in the tens of thousands.
You can sell the extra ones on eBay, Russell.
Yeah.
So it'd be fun to get insight into that decision, right? I mean, why would Daimler move away from the? Why couldn't they just do what they want to do in conjunction here? Or was there some different directions?
They have some competitive advantage, and they don't want Bosch selling them to their competitors, so they can keep it in house.
Maybe, but I just think when I think of companies like Daimler, I mean, usually they do intentionally outsource a lot of the production of things like this, and then they do, they do the design. They let someone else do the manufacturing, and then they'll do final assembly. Right. I just do find it odd that they're taking on something like this.
No, I think Paul's totally right. It's the conflict, and look, if Daimler and Bosch managed to share the costs of developing these electric drivetrains, Daimler's learned from that to whatever extent they can. They're going to take that knowledge, develop their own product in house that they don't have to share with anybody.
Yeah, right.
All right.
That's my opinion. I could be full of shit. I often am. Speaking of, anybody recognize this? Oh, yeah. I actually think it's the Lexus version, but Paul, I mean, brilliant eyes there. This is the Zoox autonomous test bed that Zoox and Toyota are working on. This showed up in a weird video for a CNC company.
That does look like San Francisco.
Yeah, it is San Francisco, definitely. And they're here they are, they're riding around in this test bed, this autonomous vehicle. So I thought it was worth showing. We've talked about this this project, and there's a different colored one. What kind of cracked me up about this was, I wonder if I'll get San Francisco. We recognize it. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I mean, this car is loaded. Like there's servers in the back seat, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's crazy. Obviously there's LiDAR all over the place, and it's interesting that I'm going to stop that. It's nowhere near a finished project. You know what I mean? Like this is way too sort of cobbled together and way not enough of a car and more of a test bed. So you look at that and you go, it's going to be decades. That was my first thought. Huh. And I had no idea that Velodyne, my favorite speaker company from the 80s, actually make or a spinoff from them makes the LiDAR units that everybody's using. If you're an audio guy, same company, but they spun off the LiDAR division in 2016. Who knew? Great subwoofers, good LiDAR.
It's kind of like a tire company doing new things.
Right? Right? Exactly. I mean, otherwise there's really nothing in this. Here's a little, there's one more shot that I want to share here. Just a still. So here they are again in the car. And you can see all the computers.
The rear seat passenger wouldn't look too happy back there.
No.
How do you take an SUV and turn it into a coupe?
Yeah.
Put a server rack in the back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that really gets me is when I see all the autonomous vehicle development and all the cars and stuff. I just think, okay, it's going to take like quantum computing or something to get the size reduction that that you don't have 9 cameras strapped to the roof, and you don't have racks of computers in the back seat.
Look at it this way, though. Look at the LiDAR alone on the Google car just 5 years ago used to be the size of a 5-gallon bucket, and the rack in the back of that Highlander would have taken up a whole train car even just 10 years ago.
At first, they got to get the concept working, and then they'll shrink it down.
Yeah. And clearly, look, this is a test bed. There's no, that isn't like me being critical of the idea that there's no room in the back seat. It's all filled with computers. Part of the other reason for that is it's really easy to pull that rack out, change out some servers, do something else, test another configuration. It's not about making humans happy. It's about testing out all of this hardware and getting it to work. I get that. It's cool though.
Yeah, I still think that once we get the technology and the software down, it'll probably take another forever for the legal approval to get through. But I have a feeling that the technological part of it will happen faster than we anticipate and could expect.
I
totally disagree with you.
No, I'm right on board with that. I think the technology will force the hand of legality.
Yep.
I don't think the regulatory issue is even a question. It's a matter that this technology is not really ready for prime time yet. And it's not going to be any time that anybody said up until last year, anytime soon. Not 2020, not 2023, not 2025. You're looking at maybe a good decade or more.
You bring up a good point, though, is that, how do we know that somebody hasn't just jumped in and said that they're good, but they haven't considered enough edge cases, and then we have a tragedy.
I mean, we've already heard lots of companies brag about what they can do, and nobody's delivered on it. We've got, again, depending on how you define it, level L3, L4, but nobody's close to L5. Paul's giving me a look.
I mean, anything we can do to make driving safer is a good thing. And autonomous braking should be mandatory on all cars, period. Any new car.
Which is
every day, hundreds, if not thousands of people get in wrecks because of stupid humans driving the car.
Sure.
So
all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even the AI ones.
Pilot error.
Stupid. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. If we weren't so focused on eliminating human drivers to make some venture capitalists rich, if we were working on making cars safer, if that was our goal, we've already made huge strides in that thing. Now, that's the regulatory thing. We need to start saying, you know what? You have this technology. Put it in every car.
Well, it's like...
So I was just going to say, and second to safety is making the roadways more efficient, so they don't have to keep widening all the interstates and the urban streets. They can just push more cars down that same pipe, which will happen with intelligent cars and networks. Well,
and then, like you said, with the money aspect, when I was with Wayne at North American International Auto Show the year that the Stingray Corvette came out, the new one, and we were speaking to a Volvo engineer, and he was telling us that at the time that he was with Ford, when Ford owned Volvo, they had a grommet that was like, maybe the Ford one was 2 cents and the Volvo one was 8 cents for the fire rating on the firewall, and it would have made a difference of hours in the burn time. And they said, well, you need to, you need to come closer to that 2 cents before we'll even let you do it.
Yep.
It was money over
safety.
The ultimate safety. Yeah.
That is the history of the auto industry. I mean, when I told the story here about my dad working in American Motors, and 2 cents for a different safety belt. Oh, we need the 2 cents. You look at that when you're making 10,000 units.
It adds up quick.
Right. All of a sudden so it's like, is it safer or are we making money? Hey, we're staying in business. Okay.
And yet Tesla puts 25% more cells in their battery packs
for free.
For free.
Allegedly. No, that one still confuses me.
Yeah, it seems.
Well, same thing though. Is if it takes them this amount of time to make a small pack and this amount of time to make a large pack, and if you just make all of them large packs and then charge extra.
Those batteries aren't cheap. That's the thing. Those 18650s are not cheap. And I realize there's a difference between me as a dude going in to buy one at a retail store for $10 going, damn, that's a 3,600 milliamp hour, 18650. I know Tesla doesn't pay $10 for that. I get it. But still,
they have a factory.
Yeah. Not that makes those. They make the 2170s.
Yeah.
They're buying the 18650s from Panasonic. And I'm sure Panasonic's giving them a great deal because they're buying an ass load of them. But they're still buying them.
If it costs them $1,000, it's probably not that much to put the extra cells in, and they know that they have a 5-to-1 conversion to pay $8,000 more to upgrade, they're still going to end up coming out money ahead.
Yeah. Plus, if you upgrade, there's the after you buy it tax, so they make an extra $2,000 to $5,000.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, and I'm going to disclose, I don't know that this ever came up before, but The first major corporate job I ever worked, 7 years, was with a printing company. And no, I'm not going to tell you which one, but one of the divisions did targeted mailers. It's what you and everyone knows as third-class junk mail.
Right.
And everyone asked the same question. How can these credit card companies and these banks possibly afford to sell out, to send out 200,000 of these junk mail things when they're all just going to get thrown away? Do you have any idea how many of those went through and actually got returned and actually got new business? Take a guess.
Less than 1%.
If they got 1.75%, it was stellar. It was usually 1.5 or less. And that extra 0.25% they fought for. But 1.75% return is what kept the business going. And that's why I think the whole Tesla putting extra batteries, I think there's efficiency. I think there's aftermarket opening it up and selling it later for more money. I think they know that it only takes a few people to unlock the extra potential, and they're making money.
Except
maybe
they send direct mail to me, because my favorite thing to do is when they send you the postpaid envelope where you're supposed to. I just stuff all the stuff that they mailed me back in the envelope, remove my name from it, so they have to pay the post office to get their shit sent back to them. That's very satisfying.
Now, here's what you need to do, Paul. The next time you get something like that and you shove everything back in the envelope, there is a number printed on the bottom, and it is identifiable, and it is a federal offense to do that. So make sure you cut the code off too.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And seriously, I'm not making that up. I actually know that.
I just cut off my personal information.
Well, your personal information, but there's a code printed on every single page.
Right.
And I'm telling this to everyone out there because it is actually a really good idea, and it does actually cost their bottom line.
I was going to say the thing we're talking about with the Tesla batteries, Mark, maybe you would just go over that quickly because we haven't really covered that story. Came from the earnings call this week.
Yeah, just before the earnings call yesterday, it came out that Tesla was going to produce. They dropped the 75 kilowatt batteries in the S and the X, and they now have indicated that they're going to sell a single battery pack that will be software limited. There will be 3 different settings that you can buy. And that will allow the owner to come in at a lower level, a lower cost, and over time, if they wish, they can unlock the software feature, the larger battery, by just paying a premium on that at that time. So it gives the owner some flexibility to come at a lower price, and if they decide that what they have is not going to work for them, they need a higher amount of mileage on the battery, they can unlock the battery at any point, any time that they own the car. It also gives the owner the ability, when they sell their car into the used market, that new owner could do the same thing. So there is some flexibility in that.
It is potentially a super cool feature. I can't wrap my brain around the economics of it, but it's amazing.
On the used car side, if they go CPO, then magically all of the features get unlocked, so you have a pricier used car.
Right.
Interesting.
But how cool is that? Like, if the guy buying the car wants to bling it out, whatever, add miles, add ludicrous mode, they can do that.
Or it's like the mini bar in the hotel room, right? Like people normally wouldn't pay $4 for a can of Coke, but when they're there and it's there and they're like, what the hell? I'm on a business trip. I'm going to pay the $4 for a can of Coke.
Well, they said that on their previous software unlocks, the 60 kilowatt battery, that was really a 75, and then the free trials of Autopilot, they had a phenomenal conversion rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so that's an interesting point. We talked about that Tesla unlocked it for people that were in these hurricane zones and stuff. I wonder how many of those were so appreciative of that they went ahead and converted.
Interesting
stats. Might be why they
stats.
kept it open so long, because everybody's like, we've unevacuated now for a month and a half. Why is it still
I don't know.
Yeah,
Gotta
and
get back.
then they did the same thing with the performance model. So it's still already a what would have been called a P100D. Now it's just called performance, but it no longer includes the ludicrous out of the box. You have to pay extra for that.
But that can't just be software.
Well, it isn't just software, but now all the hardware is included. Whereas when it first came out, you had to pay extra to upgrade from insane to ludicrous because they upgraded your fuse from a Iconel fuse to a Hybro fuse. But now they're already all in there, so you're just paying to get the extra 50 horsepower or however many it happens to be.
Yeah, so the motors, the horsepower of the motors are actually limited as well as the battery amount.
Well,
Through software, though, but they can unlock.
The performance cars have the unlocked battery, and they also have a larger rear motor than the non-performance cars. So like my 90D had symmetrically sized front and rear motors. They just had different gear ratios. But on my Model X, it has a large rear motor and the smaller front motor. And so it's actually front-wheel drive most of the time, unless I'm getting into it, which is every time I'm on the road.
All the time.
Of course, you never drive irresponsibly.
Oh, no, just at the speed limit. But there's a lot of slow people out there.
Wanted to make sure the lawyer just wanted to make sure that you
Right,
acknowledge that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would never use this tool irresponsibly.
I use it very responsibly. It's a safety tool, too. Like several times, there have been near misses, and I was able to just rocket out of it. Where if I had stepped on the brakes, it would have put me further into the mess.
Right. Got you there. Tony has our last story of the night. Make it quick, my man.
Yeah. So, as many of you know, last year I did a review of a Kia Niro, and I said, when are they going to come out with the full electric, something that I can buy? And Hyundai, of course, Hyundai and Kia are one and the same. They revealed their pricing for the full electric, the Kona EV in the US. And I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen so that we can all revel in this. And what we've got here is it starts at $36,450 for the SEL model, the limited model at $41,150, the ultimate at $44,650. Now this is MSRP, so you're looking at 250 miles of range on all of them. It's just the trim and the creature comforts and the different things.
Right.
So if you want the ultimate, and let's just start there. You get the ultimate for $44,650 minus $7,500, which is going to bring that down to, oh God, math is hard.
Well, plus if your state offers anything too.
I'm sorry, what?
If your state offers anything.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, with
California.
federal. Yeah, so federal. Let's see, 44 minus the 7 is going to be 37,100 maybe. I think Illinois unfortunately killed our state incentives, so we don't have anything there. Paul, why don't you give us the
$950
view?
Yeah, and in Colorado, we still have the $5,000 rebate on new EVs and plug-in hybrids. So, I mean,
37 becomes 32, right?
Well, but they get the federal as well. So, yeah, but I was looking at the entry-level one is around $1,000 difference from an entry-level Prius.
Wow.
A EV with 250-mile range at the end of the day. So,
yeah,
you know, we talk about when EVs will hit this tipping point to be compatible or comparable to ICE cars. It's not that far away, guys, depending where you are.
Yeah. So like I said, here in Illinois, they killed the state incentives. Yeah, thanks. So we only get the $7,500. Paul said there's an additional $5,000 in Colorado. Casey, you were saying what? What is there? You haven't.
Oh, I closed it. I'm sorry. 1 second. 36,450 minus 7,500 minus 5,000 came out to 23,950.
23,950.
That's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're going to be, I mean, it's not a Tesla, but they're going to be first to market with a practical, 250 plus mile range, affordable EV.
And
SUV.
And last,
very, very small though.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
It is, but last week we were talking about battery efficiencies in testing, and Hyundai was up there. with Tesla
Yeah.
as being some of the best battery efficiency. So 258, when I was driving the Kia Niro, what I started the morning with, my expected range, it gave me more than that consistently and easily.
Yeah. No, I agree. My experience in driving both the Ioniq and the Kia Soul, I mean, super efficient per kilowatt hour miles, really respectable. Whatever you think of the rest of the vehicle, trim or appearance wise, they deliver in performance. And I don't mean performance in speed. I mean performance in, you have this much battery. How far can you
the
go?
Koreans certainly know how to build lithium batteries. I mean, with all the gazillion cell phones and whatnot.
The Hyundais are also really fast at using the DC fast charge networks.
Yeah.
Sometimes even faster than the Germans and the Americans.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is huge. I mean, basically, we've been doing this since 2010.
But this is, Tony, this is still just a carb state car right now, right?
Unfortunately, it is. Unfortunately, I have to fly out to Colorado, live there.
We're not carb yet.
Not even there. It's just California to start, is it
Right.
not?
I know you're not there yet, but I'm waiting. I'm patient.
Well, I just read in the local paper here, the Colorado New Dealers Association is fighting the CARB rules, saying that's going to restrict consumer choice and it's going to add costs to the cost of every new car in the state, regardless of what your views are on emissions and blah, blah, blah. And it's the same old story the auto industry is pushing.
Yeah,
We don't want to stock an extra 2 units in our selection. What's wrong with the base car?
And oh, by the way, the price of the car goes up a bit, but you'll save it time and time again over the life of the car and fuel savings. But
they'll just pass it on. Why do they even care?
Yeah, and we got Bruce in the chat saying the e-Niro is supposed to be coming in late February to all 12 states.
Awesome.
And that's what I'm looking for. And I think I mentioned it here before when I had the Niro. It was the plug-in electric hybrid. It wasn't the full EV. My wife absolutely loved that car. The only drawback was the funky transmission, and when it was under ICE control, when you ran out of charge, really weird shifting. It was really sluggish.
The EV won't have to shift.
Right. I know. That's why I'm waiting for the e-Niro. I can't wait to get. I want to drive that car, and I want to.
So once Colorado becomes a carb state and the e-Niros, you're going to move out here.
I just want the pot.
You don't have to move here to get that.
I got nothing.
I think the Canadian border is closer than Colorado to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Oh my God, that is so true.
Go visit your friend Mark. Now, of course, getting it back into the U.S. will
that's the hard
be nearly impossible. Yeah, that is not a federal crime you want to do time for, my friend. Well, speaking of time, we are done. Let's do some shout-outs and go home, gentlemen. I am going to start with Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Oh, look at that. Just wanted to let some people know that Tony and I are going to be teaming up at the Chicago Auto Show coming up next week.
Wow.
So we're going to be there for Media Day. I don't know how they let us couple knuckleheads in there for Media Day, but we will be there and checking out the new cars on the show floor.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome.
I know what the first thing Tony Schaefer's going to say when he meets you in person.
So do I.
Yeah.
And we will leave it at that.
And we will leave it at that.
Yes.
Because you and I are on the same page.
Yeah. I have a feeling I already know what you think.
Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
All right.
We'll see. How about Evan Fusco?
I'm shoutless today.
I'm sorry, is that a euphemism? Evan.
All right, shout out to Kacey Green. He shared his I shared his Twitter handle on the chat, and he's got his YouTube, which I'll let him. I don't know how to find that. Midlands Hybrid.
He'll do the shout outs next. So
all right. So shout out to Kacey and his shout outs.
Killer. Kacey.
Yes.
Plug whatever you like right now.
I put my YouTube channel in the chat. It's about EV life. It's focused on Tesla because that's what I have every day. But it's open to everything. A little bit of lifestyle, but it's fun stuff.
I mean, we're a broad show. We don't just talk about cars. We talk about everything.
Yeah.
Well, not everything. I mean, we want to get into the drone. No, we're not going to talk about
Actually, the drone makes several appearances in the show.
it. See, we'll have to. I just have like a drone just like hover next to me next week. Mr. Guzik.
I just want to talk about a House bill I read about in Colorado. They actually want to extend the EV tax credit a few more years into the future. So go Colorado.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yes.
the politicians won't vote it down, but we're a pretty blue state these days, so that's a good thing.
Our state is fighting to make it so it's not illegal for Tesla to sell or service vehicles here.
Which would be ironic, wouldn't it? I mean, just so weird. Well, speaking of ironic and weird, the man who has fought frostbite for the entire show.
It's true.
Bring us home,
Yes.
Tony Schaefer.
Shout out as usual to everyone in the chat.
Big
Again,
chat tonight.
yes, I always think it's awesome when when people decide to spend an hour with us. Great show title options. I don't know which one we're going to end up going with.
I don't know. Give me something here. I got, we have Sweden adopts population control. We have AI as my backseat driver. We have, it might run you over.
I like that one.
Sweden adopts
might just run you
population
over.
control.
Yes.
Is that the panel vote, Sweden?
No, that's just another
Swedish
choice.
population control. Yeah.
Okay.
Although you know what?
I don't. Tell me.
Well, Evan, do you remember the show title the first time you were on the show?
First time I was on the show, I do not.
Wow.
Yes, you do. It was only 2 weeks ago that you said it.
I did.
I slept since then.
It was like episode 5, and the show title was Introducing Evan Fusco.
Very creative.
It was, and I think there was actually one that was like, every time we had someone new, that was the show title.
I think we did. Yeah. Introducing Linda Weideman. Introducing Eric
So
Powers.
we have to have an Introducing Kacey Green.
Introducing Kacey Green. Well,
All right.
that is fair, actually. That is absolutely fair. I got to write that down. Okay.
Also, again, another shout out to Philip Barclay. I often forget, if you use Flipboard as your news aggregator, I always post the articles we talk about on the show up at Flipboard. Throughout the week, I post whatever I see up on Flipboard. I see Philip throw stuff up there. If you want to read the articles that we're reading and keep in touch with what we're keeping our eyes on, if you use Flipboard, look for the What Drives Us magazine.
01010 says running down Kacey.
Right.
Oh, what did he say?
He says running down Kacey.
Nice. Ouch.
Yeah.
That's not right. We can't run you down in the first show. I mean, you gotta at least get 4 or 5 shows.
That's at least a show 3 thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was nice to Kacey this show. That's you get the one and done.
You were nice.
To Kacey.
Apparently that was
That might be the show title. Evan's nice. Well, as always, I want to thank Michael Manring for our amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. You can visit us on social media. Oddly enough, we're at What Drives Us and almost everywhere. Facebook.com/What Drives Us. We're at What Drives Us on Twitter. If you would like to support the show on Patreon, which please do, you can do so for as little as $1 a month. That's less than 25 cents per show. Patreon.com/What Drives Us Show. And of course, youtube.com/What Drives Us. That's where all our reviews, that's where the shows are. We ask you, please go there, hit that subscribe button. Super duper important. I just said super duper.
You did.
You did.
Oh, Jesus. I need to drink more.
Yeah, you do.
It is really important. I'm sorry, super duper. What am I, 9?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, thanks to everybody in the chat room. Big, huge chat room. Thank you to brand new panelist Kacey Green for surviving his first show. this isn't his first rodeo. He's done this stuff
Yep.
before. I mean, look at that setup, Rick. We were all like,
right?
dude, yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, yay, no longer a What Drives Us virgin. Thanks to all of you, of course. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. See you later. Bye.
And remember, you can find us on audio versions on
Evan's playing the Mavic drone. Go, baby. See you next week.